Hello dreamers! Hi! Welcome to today's video where we are going to talk about empaths and highly sensitive people and what this really means and sort of how to thrive if you are someone who identifies this way or if you know or love someone who does. So over this past year, I haven't made a lot of videos, but what I have been doing is a lot of research. I've been doing a lot of learning to kind of shore up information to share with all of you in the days and weeks and months and years to come. And one thing that I've enjoyed researching quite a bit is the highly sensitive person. And over about the past 10 years or so, the fields of science and spirituality have begun in small ways to coalesce. And this is something that makes my heart very happy. I think this is very needed for all of us. The empath, as we understand it, right, is roughly equivalent to what science calls the highly sensitive person. Science itself doesn't recognize the empath, which is more of a mystical concept, right? An empath being someone who is able to experience the energies and emotions of others as if they are one's own, right? One thing I had been reviewing the literature on over this past year or so is this topic in neurology called sensory processing sensitivity, which is basically a trait discovered in fMRI studies, which is brain imaging studies, that there are individuals who actually have more sensitive nervous systems. And so it's basically a scientific validation of this trait of greater sensitivity, which is wonderful. Like I said, this is something that, although it's rudimentary at this time, it's definitely a step in the right direction for scientifically validating some of these concepts that people have sensed but not been able to prove for a very long time. So it is true that those who are highly sensitive and empaths actually have brains that are different, and they actually appear different on imaging studies. And there is evidence that shows that highly sensitive people and empaths are more responsive to their environment and surroundings. So there's now research in both clinical science and in psychology that shows this. And what I'd like to talk about today is particularly this point, which has been discussed for almost about 50 years, this idea that those who have what they're now calling sensory processing sensitivity, and this sensitivity also has been shown in studies to be a sensitivity to also physical stimuli as well, which I think many of us have experienced as empaths. For example, sensitivity to light, to sound, to smell. Basically, what they have found is that, as I'm going to use the term empath because that's a familiar term for many of us, an empath who is in a supportive environment where he or she feels very safe and secure will actually come alive in amazing ways and become very creative and very expressive and fill the whole space with warmth and goodness. So in a positive, supportive environment, an empath really can achieve amazing things and really sort of easily embody this whole kind of state of being one's best self, as we often describe it. Because of this trait of sensory processing sensitivity, when one is in a supportive environment, that person's entire physiology, their actual physical body, their brain, their emotions, all come alive in positive ways. However, the reverse, as we've also noticed, is also true. So in a hostile environment, someone who is highly sensitive in this way, their physical body responds much more quickly with stress signals, and they experience much more emotional distress. And essentially, I think we've all experienced this, right? Like in a hostile environment, they begin to sort of shrivel up and become insular, and they tend to not express creatively. They tend to go within and fail to really feel, I think, safe enough to kind of fulfill their greater purpose. When I first saw the literature on this, it really, really hit me how important it is for empaths and highly sensitive people to the best of our ability to do so, to put ourselves in loving and supportive environments, and to create environments where we feel safe and secure so that we can come alive and fulfill our greater purpose. Because fundamentally, I believe that everyone who was born with this trait was born with this trait for a reason, to contribute beauty and, friendship and goodwill and warmth and love to the world. However, I think really seeing it in black and white made me understand that if we are in an environment that feels very, very harsh, we may fail to actually achieve that mission. I just wanted to encourage everyone to start to think about in what environments and relationships do I feel safe and secure? In what situations in my life have I really flourished? And in what situations in my life have I maybe shriveled a bit? And in this way, through asking these questions, we may begin to understand what type of environment or relationship is supportive to our greater mission. I think often as empaths, we feel like we have to adapt to the world around us. And it's like, oh, this is just the way the world is, and I'm just going to feel this way all the time. And but I actually have found, although you must be bold sometimes in doing so, if you're willing to live in a unique way that honors your particular needs as an empath or highly sensitive person, you may be able to create an environment that allows you to flourish and really have a profound intervention in the world, in the sense of being able to come alive in your creativity and gifts in a way that contributes a great deal of greater creativity, love, connection, and wisdom to the world. There are certain people who are not highly sensitive that may be able to flourish in just an okay environment, or even kind of like a harsh environment. And sometimes, like, depending on how just like solid they are within their own self. But for an empath or a highly sensitive person, we fundamentally are very, very impacted by the environment that we find ourselves in. And I understand a lot of people are in situations that are beyond their control. But to the extent that we have control with, the colors that we look at, and the amount of quiet, and the amount of light, and the music that we listen to, and the clothes that we wear, and how comfortable we feel, and the relationships that we nurture or ones that we kind of let go, or all of this kind of stuff, to the extent that we do have creative liberty to create a supportive environment, I just want to encourage everyone to do so and to begin to make changes to make your everyday environment feel as safe and supportive to you as possible. And especially when it comes to people that make you feel that way, people that make you feel like you can do anything. For the average person, those relationships are probably nice, but not essential. But for an empath, we need those people in our court that tell us that, because our sensitivity means that when someone feeds us that energy and says, I believe in you, you can do this, that we will actually do it. And I think that is an amazing thing. So with that, I want to thank you all for listening today. It's been wonderful to share this message with you. And if you enjoyed today's sharing, please come back for more videos in the future. So many blessings to all of you, and namaste.